Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this first day of May. It's the first of the month. I got Mad New Yorker backstage. Going to ask him, what's he think about this Lakers situation? I wonder if they should move on from LeBron. Now will be a good time. They've already got Luka there. Talk about that. Talk a little bit about the playoffs. Get his thoughts on Shedeur Sanders, Bill Belichick saga, and more. Of course, that's the Mad New Yorker. We'll see what he thinks about the New York team's draft and whatnot with the Tennessee Titans and more. Stand by. We'll take our first and only break, and we'll be back here shortly and hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to Sports, that is Sports with an S, another S, Scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program.
I'm Mac, CEO of National Streaming Sports and host of the Mac and Jack Sports Show. You're watching the sharp-dressed man and the big story breaker, Robert Butler, on Sports Scope, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on National Streaming.
All righty, then. Let's bring in the man. Good crowd tonight, Chief. Hello. What do you think if we hit the ground running here? Start with last night's game here. Both of us called the Lakers to win this. I thought maybe Lakers could win it in 6. But everything that happened that I said that Minnesota needed to do, contributions, Jaden Daniels, Naz Reid, and of course, like last night, Rudy Gobert, play up to his par and take advantage of them not having a big, and it all come to fruition. They actually went in 4. Very impressive. What are your thoughts about that series, man? I thought it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I like that Anthony Edwards took another step up in his basketball game. Like his basketball mentality has risen up a little bit, which is good.
Randall?
No, Anthony Edwards.
Who? Oh, Edwards.
Yeah.
He really has elevated.
Yeah.
Last year wasn't a fluke, man. You know.
Right. So, but last year he was. Last year he had. So the team's a little bit different. They have a little bit more depth because they picked up Vincenzo. So Anthony Edwards could play a little bit more 2-guard this time. So I give him a little bit more energy. Last year he just looked like he was running out of gas because of the games leading up to the playoffs. But this year he looked like he had more energy. The DiVincenzo trade was something that helped him out because he didn't have to be in that spot by himself and spend that much energy. Randall actually played really well this series.
Probably the best series of his career, right?
Yeah, and I'm not sure how much he can hold up doing that. But kudos to them. Them being a little bit younger as well compared to the Lakers. So if you compare the veterans that the Lakers have compared to Minnesota, their veterans stepped up and the Lakers did not. And I think that's the difference there. They didn't get any points from LeBron James. They didn't get too much support. Like, he wasn't even there to support the team. So they didn't get much from him, and that's a big piece of your puzzle that you need to have because you built your team around him, right? So, but he didn't contribute anything, so that didn't help. This is good for the Minnesota Wolves for sure, for the Timberwolves. So, you just got to keep your hat off because they were able to withstand, that team that could have been. And I felt like even if the Lakers won the first round, they weren't going to go far anyways.
Okay.
I think some of the things that the coach mentioned at the end about his team not being playoff ready when he was talking about the Lakers,
Yeah, he didn't even want to play. He went straight Thibodeau on us, didn't he?
You know what was going on. You know, he played the 4 players straight for like
for a half. That's crazy, ain't it?
So, you know, it's a big for Laker fans. It's unexpected because they're hoping that they were able to get more out of their 2 superstars, and it didn't happen. And for the Minnesota Timberwolves, they have a superstar that was able to light up on the court, and he has and the guys that are with him on the team, you know, they did their part. So, you know, your team has to you have to do your part, you know. So it's very important.
It looks like they're out to play. My guess is they'll play Golden State, not unless Rockets put together a big comeback here. Who would you like it in that series? I think Minnesota's primed to make another Western Conference Finals run. I haven't got as far as looking ahead to the Western Conference Finals, but it looks like they're primed to make that run to get back in the Western Conference Finals and win the next series. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I'm not. I would just wait to see what's going to come out of this other series that's wrapping up. On both of those 2 teams, I think we mentioned on a few shows that they were actually almost head-to-head, like the same team, except for one has more offense than the other, and the other plays more defense than offense. And so it's kind of like, you know, becoming that longer series than it should be. But I would hold off a little bit just to see. But I feel like the Rockets are deeper than the Golden State Warriors at this point.
Oh, you still think they can come back and win 2 straight?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see that happen. That's a team, if they do that, you know, they would. You know, it would be something like getting over the hill or getting over the humps that they, you know, once again to the playoffs. But, you know, I'm trying to decide, is Golden State have enough gas in the tank, man? Because they put a lot out there this last game. So can they withstand, and do they have enough stamina to because they're going against younger guys, you know? So you know, we'll see, and I hope so, because they'll make it for actual. It's actually been a decent series, I'd like to see that competition in the West. To be honest with you. So.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. You know, I thought that Rockets would give them a better series. Now I don't know if last night was an outlier or whatnot. Looks like Golden State's just a better scoring team. They're more polished. You know, Steve Kerr's out coaching Ime Udoka, Badoka, whatever, and you just got more experience there, and you could see it with Golden State. Now, last night they got down big early, 25, 30 points, and looks like they were just kind of, you know, resting the guys, getting ready for Game 6. Now, I love to see Houston beat them.
Right.
You know, I'm so tired of hearing about the Warriors and the Lakers like they're the 1 and 2 seed, and really they were the 3 and the 7.
And to be honest with you, the only thing right now that I like about this Golden State team is that they're taking hits from that hammer. The Rockets are giving it to them, and they're taking it and they're giving it back. And that you know, the playoffs will be a little bit rough this year for all the teams playing. But
what do you think about that? I like the fact that they're letting them play and let it get physical like back in the day.
I like the physicality, but what I don't like is that there's not one player on any of those teams that were ready for that to be in the playoffs and for the refs not call anything, right? So you see it in all the games, is the Knicks games, all the games. Like you know, you see the players turn around waiting for the call, like they're not playing through the calls, through the whistle, or anything else. They're just waiting for it, and you can't play a game like that. You just have to go out and put it on the court, try to score, and then turn around.
I love that. That's the way it used to be.
Right. But
unless it's a really, really hard technical foul type.
Right, but the problem, Robert, is that everybody who feels any kind of contact is waiting for the game to stop, and that takes away from the game itself, because it's like they're not going to get that call, and now they missed 2 or 3 steps, and they don't get a rebound, or they don't. You know, they're not running back, and so that I feel like is taking also these games that are close, especially like the Knicks series, is taken away from that a little bit. And you know, you can't depend on the ref to win the game. I'm not saying it for the Knicks or for Detroit, but for both teams. These players are not playing all the way through because their expectations of a foul being called, and it's affecting the game in itself, So
yeah, that's true. But I just like the fact that it's
it's rough and tough.
If you really look at these calls up close, they're not really getting that. They're so used to guys just touch fouling in the regular season. But if you look at it up close, like we're looking at the camera angle from 25 feet away, and then they'll show the other camera angle when it's up close, and I'm like, okay, that's not even that much of a foul. Right. Sometimes they're not even fouls. The guy's just running into the defender, and the defender's got his hands like out, and he's looking for a foul, and I'm like, no, you're just jumping into the guy. Right, I never thought those type of plays should be called a foul. I actually thought it was good no call at the end, going back in that Detroit series. Good no call against Detroit that ultimately cost them the game. We got the Knicks to win. I thought that was fine. If you wanted to call out a foul, it was a makeup because they were mauling the Knicks earlier in that game.
Look, and I don't. And even if they got a win out of it, to be honest with you, Detroit, they lost that game because they pulled up too many shots and missed too many shots.
They went cold.
They got cold.
Saved you with that big three. That was a great game.
That's one of the reasons they lost the game. To wait on a call to hope that you get a call is poor planning and poor play on any basketball players. Even if the coach tells you, you'd sit there back in the day and be like, just drive to the basket, you'll get the call. We'll get the extra. We'll play for the extra point. Okay, but if that's what you're thinking, if it happens, it happens. If it don't, what do you do? Then you get back into it. You call a timeout and you go, okay, now we got to look for another possession, right? So, but they're not even doing that. They're just like sitting. They're running, shooting, or making a layup, and then just turning around and waiting for a call. It's like,
I hate that.
It's like, come on.
And by the way, they're up 15 by the end of the first. It looks like Knicks are going to win this in 6.
No, we don't say it because this whole series.
I know that both teams can't hold a league in this series.
I was gonna say, it was like this whole series has been. I don't know.
I think they'll be all right, but who do they play next? Is it Boston?
They'll play Boston. They would play Boston.
I guess that would be Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah.
Interesting
if
series
they get through, they would play Boston. But if Detroit gets through, then they would play Boston. So.
Yeah. I mean, my thing is that no matter what happens in this series, which I think they'll probably win tonight, they're going to lose that Boston series. And this looks like a Golden State situation where you had Mark Jackson change the culture, Tom Thibodeau changing the culture. Now you got to get that other coach to get them to the next level, to build build an offense around it and make them more efficient. They
could have done this 2 seasons.
Jalen Brunson hero ball stuff is annoying after a while. Every single possession.
But then here you're saying that, but then the last game they didn't put him in until 20 seconds was left on the clock. So they didn't even let him try to be.
Well, they are starting to hear me. They've been tweeting the offense a little bit the last few games, but I felt like he only put Brunson going back to Sunday on the bench because he was injured. And then, but he brought him back at the end on the road. So, he's a hard-headed dude, that freaking Thibodeau, man.
I've been trying to tell people, and
but don't you glad he changed the culture? They were a losing franchise.
I mean, to what point though? It's like when people are like, oh, Dabo took the Giants to a playoff. That junk don't matter. These seats are like $400, $500 for nosebleeds, man. I don't want to see a culture change. I want to see championships, man. And in New York they're not a city for development. You don't develop teams here because this is not what we want. We want to win. No, we're not waiting for guys who are 21 to the time they're 26 in the top of the game. That hasn't been like that since the 1900s, bro. Remember guys like Patrick Ewing, and he got drafted by the Knicks, and finally, even when they first got into the playoffs and he didn't get far into a playoff, they couldn't develop nobody else with him. what other guy was with him that they developed? Nobody. It was just him. He got drafted in '86, and then they started bringing players from other places. Maybe like what? Even they brought John Starks off a trade.
He was drafted in '85, actually.
You know, or '85. Yeah, but I'm saying by so
Georgetown Warriors.
Yeah. So then
they really didn't get another cold star. I mean, I wouldn't call Starks or Charles Oakley a star. Now, if they would have had Allen Houston then, Allen Houston didn't come till several years later, they could have used an Isaiah Thomas or somebody like that.
Right. Which is why I proved.
But that's revisionist history.
What I'm saying, I hope that if they get an opportunity, they go ahead and sign Giannis and just give him all the chips on the table, man. Go for broke.
You want to go for Giannis?
Yeah, because you would have.
What would you give up for Giannis?
Give whatever they want, because you would have Giannis, you would have Towns, and you have Brunson. Towns could play power forward like he's trying to play when he's supposed to.
You probably have to give Towns up.
No, I'm saying like he can play a power forward now because that's what he kind of is. He's not really a center, and so you would get 20 from Towns. You'd get
Giannis is just 31.
Yeah,
I would go after Giannis.
I give him a 5-year contract. Why not?
Could be 31 in December.
Yeah, I wouldn't give him more than 5 years though, but whatever.
I mean, the next two with a really good team, that would be a good move.
Right, so.
I thought he was 33, so yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, he's definitely. I think they're definitely going to move him. I think they're going to try to work out something, and I just hope he don't go to the Lakers. Back to the Lakers, by the way. I think they should move on from LeBron and build around Luka. What's your thoughts about that aspect of it?
I think
he'll be 41 this year.
Yeah, and I think LeBron will probably stay for at least one more season, maybe two, just for the money factor for him and the fact that he's still, a face of the franchise down there in La La Land, and it also to give a smoother transaction and a smoother change for Luka.
Transition.
Yeah, you don't want to just leave Luka by himself, because he as much as he's a good player and a superstar, he's not. You saw when Brunson left how much that hurt the Dallas Mavericks, and then everybody was blaming Luka for not being able to carry the team, and it's like that's ridiculous. He's one player, but that's just the and it's up to LeBron at the end. Like he's the one. The ball's on his court. He's the one who gets control that, because the Lakers are not going to say no, LeBron, you're the face of the franchise. We don't want you to come back anymore. They're not going to say that. They sell so many jerseys.
Would you prefer them keep LeBron another year, or would you prefer them moving off LeBron if you're the guy in charge?
If I'm the guy in charge, I keep him and do a whole send off, and then because see what happens is that you set the tone for Luka, right?
Okay. That was this year, man. I think
you let Luka know that
all the way around Luka now.
Yeah, but Luka's not in shape.
Done, man.
Luka's not in shape, and he's not basketball ready, man. You could tell.
He'll be ready though off season.
Yeah, but
he's got the chip on his shoulder.
Nah, I mean he needs to get a little bit more,
I mean, not potato chips, actual chips.
I was just saying he needs to get in the sauna and get in shape and get mental ready, because he can do it. But I've said this a few shows before. He is the youngest, oldest basketball player in the league.
That's a good point.
He's been playing since he was 16, and so he's not that.
Zach Lowe at ESPN broke down a stat about him that he's not dunking the ball nowhere near as much as he used to, if at all.
Yeah, I mean, why?
That's an athletic stat, and the guy's like 26, man.
Right, so he's probably 33 in basketball years because he's been playing
those extra 4 years with playing pro ball. Probably put some wear and tear on those legs.
And the fact and then you add the 2 years for he don't take care of himself during the off season. So and I'm not trying to
you just calling balls and strikes, man.
I think he's a great basketball player. I think he can be better athletically if he put his time and his mind into it. Because if their teams that he's been on are calling him out on that, then you got to turn around inward and be like, it could be possibly my fault. And he needs to be mature about it, and just, he's got a new season to start next year, and he can start tomorrow, instead of saying I'll start after I come back from my country, or or watch the U.S. Open or something. Like, no, you get on the ball and do yourself do the diligence that it takes to be a superstar in LA, because you're no longer a superstar in Dallas, right? You're not in LA, so you're gonna have more critical fans than you're gonna have.
He's got the highest selling jersey in the league now.
Yeah, and you're gonna have more critical fans than you're gonna have loving fans, because Dallas is a different place than LA will ever be. So
it's a big basketball brand. Okay, agree to disagree. I would try to ask LeBron if he wanted to be traded, if we could work out a trade.
The team was going to take that contract. He's getting $52 million.
There's some team. There's a knucklehead out there that would do it. Maybe Golden State would do it,
52 mil?
Golden State, certain teams will go. The Clippers may do it. But of course, they wouldn't deal with the Clippers, but Houston may do it. But LeBron's got to come up. I mean, obviously, he would retire. You would save money that way, or get him to agree to a trade, and see what happens. I think it would be good. I doubt it'll happen. People kowtow to this guy. They have, and they will. I wouldn't, but
it would hurt the Lakers.
That's the NBA world we live in.
Yeah, I know. And it's mostly business, but this is his last hurrah. So you want to make it like a send-off tour, like Kobe and like Jordan got and all that. Magic,
Jordan never did that. Though,
and all those Magic players and the last 5 games you knew that Jordan was retiring. Remember they did this whole everybody
the last dance.
Yeah, remember?
I don't remember actually in that last season them talking that way. That was like an internal thing. We found out later.
Right, but when all the other teams knew and he was visiting,
I guess there was speculation.
Yeah. Yeah. So
because a lot of people was in contract year that year, like Scottie Pippen and
you talking
Phil Jackson.
You're talking about a top 100 player in LeBron James. So, and another thing is too, like he's not gonna, being the competitor that he is, he's not gonna go off on a bad note. Like somebody,
he's not gonna retire, man.
No, I heard somebody. I forgot who it was, but they're talking about like, is he gonna do the same thing that Aaron Rodgers did? And then the guy goes, of course not. Aaron Rodgers, LeBron's he's gonna talk to his family. They're gonna have people who support him. And then like Aaron Rodgers don't have a family, so I was like,
it would be a big story this summer if he did. He might, man. He might be tired of all this and retire.
Look, and I'm not gonna say that it's about money, but if you had to choose between retiring or $52 million. The process isn't
He'll
really.
Probably play it out. I mean, they don't. I mean, it's such a cushy job playing for the Lakers and having all that control.
And you're guaranteed $52 million whether you win a championship or not. It's not like you have to win a championship and you get the.
But I don't think money's a big issue with him.
It's not that it's an issue. It's that he can have an extra $50 million if he plays.
Yeah. He'll probably play it out. You're right. He'll probably play it out. I'm just more wanting the guy to move on. I think it'd be better for the league.
We can't tell athletes and superstars when they have to go. They got to do that for themselves.
Oh, I know. I just wish he would, though. It's obnoxious, man. He's overstayed his stay.
Is he hurting your betting percentages?
No. I just think he's an obnoxious guy. Sometimes he's not as bad as he used to be. He's kind of lightened up on the whole political thing and the police are trying to kill him and all that stuff. And he's kind of lightened up on that. Maybe it's election year.
I think the fact that his son is now an adult, his perspective has changed on how he perceives things and what he says and how he says things. So that way he could be more of a mentor and more of an example for his son.
Yeah, other than him walking up to Stephen A. like that, and I'm not a big Stephen A. Smith fan, but that was over the top.
Yeah, but he did that as a father figure, trying to, and then just trying to, and knowing that he had people around him to show face, like.
Yeah, but he knows he shouldn't have done that.
I mean,
that's a form of bullying. I mean, what's Stephen A. Smith? He's just doing his job. Switching gears, man. What do you think about Shedeur Sanders over the weekend falling all the way to the 5th round?
Yeah, so I thought it was ridiculous in the sense where, and all these people that have all these things to say about him or don't have anything to say about him, or like the guy has won everywhere he's been in the college, in the college field, right?
Yeah.
But he's been coached by professionals his whole life. And to me, if I'm a scout, if I'm working for a team, I have to take that into consideration. Like, and I'm getting a guy who's going to understand what's going to be thrown out there in multiple languages. Like, they're like, well, he didn't, like Dabo's talking about, well, he didn't respond to his, coaching lingo and all this. I'm like, man, you hadn't had a successful quarterback since Josh Allen. And Allen saved himself because he was athletic and big. You think Allen was a great quarterback when he started? No, he was running for his life. And luckily he was athletic enough to make that a positive thing because your play call sucked. So things coming out of the Giants.
What do you think about the NFL? He said he wanted to play in the East-West Shrine game. NFL tell him, well, if you want to participate in that game, you got to show up to practice. You can't just show up to the game. Well, he just shows up to the game and doesn't practice like Allen Iverson or something.
I'm not for what Shedeur did to get to the point that he was at the draft. There's a lot of things that came out that said, like, well, what you're saying, that he was just showing up for events. He didn't want to do all the events at the combine, like all those fine. Like, but again, you're talking about one player who was rated at the top of of the rest of the other class, right? His percentage was the highest of all the quarterbacks.
He had the highest completion percentage.
Yeah. So, and just to whatever your choice was before him or not picking him, that's on every team. Now, I'm not going to say that Shedeur Sanders is going to come out and be, what's this guy's name? Jaden Daniels. But now,
Joe Burrow, somebody.
What happened now is that you put, now he's going to have to, everything that's transpired is going to be now on Shedeur Sanders to go out there and perform at the highest and best that he can. And the problem now is that because of where he's picked, he's going to have less an opportunity to do that. Right?
Yeah.
So, that's something that's part of like your consequence, right? You didn't want to, do what all the other quarterbacks did. You didn't want to be like all the other quarterbacks because you thought you were that much different. Then now here's your opportunity. You still are in the NFL, and now you're going to have to, put up or shut up because that's just the way it is. And luckily he still has an opportunity. And when he gets it and he's on the field, he's going to have to just ball out and be the best quarterback on, in the league for that moment, because that's the only way he's going to get out of that situation and be known as a better quarterback. Like but the reality is, Robert, this is for every QB who ever has been drafted, right? For every number 1 or 2 QB that we call a bust, they wasn't able to do that, right? They wasn't able to be like, you picked them number 1 and they're not acting like a number 1 quarterback. Like, you're like, come on, what's going on? We picked you number 1. Like, what's going on? Look, what happened to Joey Harrington? What happened to, like, you can name, there's a whole list of guys you can name out there.
Yeah.
And they
do you think he's going to make it?
I don't.
Do you think he'll be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns at any point this year, this coming up season?
I don't think they want him to be a starting quarterback in Cleveland. I think they're just using him as bait, trade bait. So I don't think.
Why do you say that? Because the owner made the call to draft him.
But the owner, come on, the owner also picked Johnny Manziel.
Right, that's what I'm saying. He's going to see him want to play.
Yeah, but he don't
get hype up on the Browns.
He don't write contracts. He just he don't write the contracts. He just approves them or disapproves them. So, and at the end of the day, his coaching staff has to be like, okay, we'll put him on the field. I don't think he's going to get the right opportunities in Cleveland, and if he does get an opportunity, he's got to play football. Like I say, he's got to perform. If the situation was better for him, then we might get to see if he's even a backup quarterback in the NFL. But right now, I don't think it'll be for another 3 or 4 years that you'll see what Shedeur is able to accomplish in the NFL on the field.
Yeah.
Fairly, to be fair,
Well, Cleveland don't have a bad team. I mean, they were in the playoffs 2 years ago.
Okay, so here's my question to you. If you have 4 quarterbacks or 5 quarterbacks, who are you starting off the bat? Just throw a name out there.
Well, you're going to have to let him go in there and compete, man. I mean, Watson would probably be the lead there, but he's coming back for an Achilles.
Right.
It probably would be Shedeur, man. You know, I mean, Dylan Gabriel, Flacco will probably be the early starter, but I could see Shedeur winning it. But you never know. How well does he take to the coaching? How well does he take to the playbook and everything, you know?
I have my ideas of Cleveland and who they have as a coach and quarterback and the offensive coordinator over there. I don't see Shedeur touching the field at all. Like, I don't see Dylan.
I think he'll play.
I don't even see. I think Dylan touched the field if he even stays.
He was drafted in the third round.
You know, like draft again. The draft just means you have an opportunity to make an NFL team. It doesn't mean that you'll be on the team. It just means that you have opportunity.
What do you think is going to happen this year?
I think that they're going to be really Cleveland Browns type football. They're going to start Joe Flacco. If he gets hurt or he can't win 3 games, they'll put in Watson. And if he gets hurt or he can't play well, they'll probably go back to Joe Flacco. And then by the end of the season, if they still have Dylan or Shedeur, they'll give them about 2 or 3 games each.
I'm not sure if Watson even. I mean, that's because of his injury, you know.
Yeah, but I'm like, you know, if I'm Cleveland, I'm cutting Watson, but then you have so much they have to pay him. So
yeah, but they're prepared for that. That's why they had all them picks. You know?
No, but you're not.
And they got next year's first round from Jacksonville.
And you're not ever prepared to pay that luxury tax, man. That's a lot. What's the difference that they got to pay? You had it written down one time. He said that if they were to cut Watson, they'd have to pay him.
It's a big tax. It's dead cap money. It's not a luxury tax. It's a dead cap money.
Oh, the dead cap on them.
Right? Yeah. So look at Denver. They had a big one last year. They made the playoffs, and look at the big one that the Rams had a few years ago, and ended up making the playoffs and almost beating Detroit that year. So
okay, all those teams.
It's not that bad.
Yeah, but all those teams you just mentioned, did they make the Super Bowl?
No, of course
not.
So
it doesn't affect.
Nobody's saying the Cleveland. I'm just talking about if Shedeur he'll get a clear shot to play this year.
The further you are away from luxury taxes and dead cap money, the closer you are to being a playoff team and a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, you got to get your stuff squared away there. What's your thoughts on the Giants taking Jackson Dart, man?
I think that they could have
pretty disappointed.
They could have got him in the 3rd or 4th round. They could have sold off the third. They could have sold out third.
You think so?
And gotten more picks. I think when Cleveland did it, I was. They
would have better off trying to get Dart in the 2nd round. You know what?
Yeah, and I was just. It was good for Cleveland to build some depth on their team and have players there to maximize that draft. And I think that the Giants did a piss poor job maximizing the draft. They could have gotten more, and they didn't. They could, they got the roster they built up for the draft. I'd say maybe it's a C minus. Aside from 2 of the defensive picks that they got that are going to be on the D line, it's just. I mean, I like the running back.
Why'd you call Scattaboo Scamaboo? That was funny.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm almost saying, and I'm not nothing against him. He's a good running back. He's one of the best.
He's too slow, huh?
No, it's just the fact that they still don't have an O-line, man. They still haven't done much to improve that side, and they didn't move Evans. They didn't cut him yet, right? So
Evans, who's Evans?
From Alabama that they had on O-line.
Oh, Evan O'Neal.
Yeah. So
I think he's still on the.
Yeah. So I don't. Well, even just with that in mind, I feel like they're lacking poise and just not making the moves that they should to get this team straight. I mean, they should just have acknowledged 2 years ago that they were rebuilding the team, but they never wanted to say that and go that route.
No, they've got some guy named Jermaine Ellamore. You're right. So, O'Neal is I don't even know if he's on the right. They may have cut him. And now let's see. Evan O'Neal was 3rd string right guard. Yeah, he was a bust there. Russell Wilson, Wardell Robertson, Darius Slayton. I mean, it's a pretty decent roster. It's a good defense, though.
Yeah, but you can't.
Abdul Carter, man. I mean, that's going to be Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence.
They're going to have a good defense, but the defense is not going to score points. If that defense can score like the Ravens defense scored.
You mean this hardcore great?
With Ray Lewis and all of them back in the day, if they can score an average of 7 points a game, then maybe they have an opportunity of being a playoff team. But I don't think the defense is going to be that stout, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be good, but I don't think it's going to be stout enough to, to score points like that. And plus, the Giants always kick way too many field goals anyway, man, or attempt too many field goals. So they're not a very fortuitous, positive thinking offense anyway. So
any thoughts on the rest of the Jets?
I think low key the Jets have done one of the best, have at least an A- on this draft.
You really like their draft, Tom?
I do, and I like that they were really quiet. There wasn't a lot of noise coming out of that hangar over there in New Jersey. I like that the coach is starting to stamp put his stamp
on the team.
Yeah, put a stamp on the team and put out his attitude, like it is. He's being aggressive, and it kind of shows. And I think that's going to eventually, get onto spread out to the team and to the ownership, right? Because he's like, the way he was even in Detroit, and I'm sure because of who he is and how competitive he is and how he was as a player, I'm sure he's very annoyed and ticked off that Detroit hasn't won a Super Bowl there when he was coaching because he had some of the best opportunities, right?
Yeah, Aaron Glenn. Now, what do you think about Mason Taylor? That's kind of a high pick for 42.
Yeah,
I think it's the son of Jason Taylor. Isn't it?
Jason Taylor's son. And what I said to you was he's gonna be he could be a good tight end, but it just depends. Justin Fields don't throw much to the tight end. Like he had
a good year with that guy Kmet.
Yeah, but he was only throwing 25% in snaps. So if he can move that up to 40%, then a guy like Taylor will be able to do his job and be offensive minded and be. Now again, he's one of those guys that he's going to go out and he can be a Tony Gonzalez, but is Fields going to be throwing to him, or is he going to be running sideline to sideline?
That's a big if.
Yeah, that's
Tony
the problem.
Gonzalez, a legend.
So you went out and got a guy who can make plays, but is your quarterback going to be consistent with this guy, right? Because if he's not consistent with the wide receivers, oh my God, imagine what he's going to do with the tight end and he's just holding on to the ball and running,
Yeah. So. Yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in the guy, but you never know, man.
Yeah,
there's no pressure on the Jets whatsoever.
And I hope Justin Fields. I think the pressure's on him to be able to stay a starting quarterback, and I hope that
not the team as a whole.
Yeah, but I hope that he takes this pressure and he goes with it and does things differently because he's on a different team. If he does the same thing that he's been doing on the other teams, he's not going to be successful. So.
Yeah. Only thing you can hope for is a resurgence like a Baker Mayfield or something.
Well, he's too young.
A guy that didn't. Of course, Mayfield had some success in Cleveland early on.
Right, and he mentioned that Baker was mature enough to mention that it was on him to keep going back to playing when he had a messed up shoulder and he should have just took care of it. So, but to me, I think it was more like there was too much pressure on him to miss out on his contract and get and mess up on that money because he had to be starting for so many games. So, but contract aside, I think Justin Fields has the opportunity to become a better quarterback in a place where he's in a team like the Jets, and because there's changes going on in the Jets, so that gives him a little bit of like cushion to be able to improve and change as well as a quarterback. That's what I hope, but I don't, what am I? So.
Yeah. Any thoughts on the Titans, the rest of their draft, since you follow the Titans?
Yeah, I like a lot of the stuff that they did. We all knew they were going to go with Cam.
Yeah. Of course, we talked about that Thursday.
I think it was cool that Warren Moon gave him the number 1.
Nice. Nice. Yeah.
In retrospect, Lawrence Taylor was like, "Nah, dude, you're gonna have to earn that. You're gonna have to earn your own number." Like he didn't. Lawrence Taylor didn't give up his number, but because they're two different positions and they're two different types of people, Warren Moon and Lawrence Taylor, anyway. But still, I thought that was cool, Warren Moon. And that's more of a like, come on, son. Like we all have confidence in you to be the man here, and because Will Levis didn't get that kind of treatment from from some of these players. So everybody has high optimism for this guy, and you just hope that he goes with it. So.
Yeah, Levis, kind of going back a little bit to Shedeur. Anthony Richardson, from what I read a few years ago, was drafted over Will Levis with the Colts. And the main reason was because Richardson come off more humble,
right,
and more susceptible to, criticism. That's the word. What do you call it? Constructive criticism and direction, where Levis kind of come off really cocky.
Right.
You can kind of say the same thing a little bit for a Cam Ward versus a Shedeur Sanders. Sanders come off really cocky, man. I mean, you never want to have your arms crossed in an interview with that defense mechanism. There's a lot of stuff, by the way, going on, like clips of an old Alec Baldwin movie asking this guy how much this watch costs? How much you make last year? I don't know if you've seen that clip. Like, this thing cost $900,000. They were trying to do like a mockery of Brian Daboll, asking him questions about the play. And then he starts talking about his watch.
Yeah, look, all I've ever said, and all I will ever, because sports is what it is. When you're on the field and you win, that everything else goes away.
It's all. This
is like LT. We bring up LT. LT is the best linebacker to ever play the football game.
Yeah.
And when he was on the field, he was the best player on the field, and nobody can touch him.
If he's a mediocre player, he'd have got cut years ago.
Right. He partied like a rock star. He did what he did. He barely came to practice on time. He did a lot of dumb things that young kids do when they first get in the league. But this guy was a superstar. He wasn't good. He wasn't a star. He was a superstar, and he made his light shine on the field. If you can do that, then there's no questions. But because we have what we have today with the media and the press and everybody saying, and everybody's got a story, all that goes away when you start winning. Look at Aaron Rodgers. When you start winning, all that stuff.
It does help. It does help. But one kind of goes, the guys that don't really want to, and maybe he will take all this in. He'll take it serious, and maybe he'll make the best of it. I still haven't gave up hope on the guy. I know he's a good processor. That's a big thing in the NFL. High completion percentage. That's a big thing in NFL.
Yeah.
You don't have to be the best athlete or the strongest arm. We saw Brady, what he could do.
Right.
And
then you mentioned a good name, Brady, who was the best of all time. You're talking about a kid who was like raised and groomed to be in the NFL and also to be a quarterback.
Yeah.
In Shedeur Sanders. Like, there's how many of those kids, maybe Taylor from Miami, right? Because he's coming from a football family. A few guys that are coming from football families are groomed to be NFL players and then learn to play the position, right?
Yeah.
How many
Mannings.
How many players were like drafted this past season? And are they all going to turn out to be the Bosas, all the other guys, all those other guys that have ex-football player parents, right?
Right. The Matthews family.
Yeah. Like, it's.
See, that's what he's got going for him because his dad did play. So we'll see how that thing goes off. Not to stay with that. Man, let me play this clip here from this interview from Bill Belichick.
Oh,
get your thoughts, dude. I know you may have seen it, but I'll play it for the audience.
I didn't even know he was in the clip until they showed him.
I cried. Right. He's right. It's like her interview, wouldn't it? Though that, I don't. Here it is. This is CBS. Bill Belichick promoting his book. By the way, when it comes out, I think I'm gonna order that thing, anyways. This is this 24-year-old girlfriend. I think she's playing PR manager here. Get your thoughts here. This is a clip from CBS on Sunday.
Jordan was a constant presence during our interview.
You have Jordan right over there. Everybody in the world seems to be following this relationship. They've got an opinion about your private life. It's got nothing to do with them, but they're invested in it. How do you deal with that?
Never been too worried about what everybody else thinks. Just try to do what I feel like is best for me and what's right.
How did you guys meet?
Not talking about this.
No?
No.
It's a topic neither one of them is comfortable commenting on.
Okay. I mean, you got that awkward exchange where.
Well, she was talking about it, not talking about it. That's one of those things in PR that you learn.
Belichick's not saying anything. So later on, he puts out a statement 2 or 3 days later. Then CBS says they never did tell us not to ask anything about that. That's bullcrap. Now, CBS has been known to, be a little shady. We saw they lost a lawsuit with the former president because of some of their nonsense. That being said, this looks bad for Belichick, man. Colin Cowherd says, no, it's good for his brand because he's working in college. He needs to reach the younger base, blah, blah, blah. My thing is, no, that's bad for his brand because it says he's not in control. He looks like he's being showed up by a 24-year-old girlfriend. It came out that she somehow nixed the deal with Hard Knocks to come to North Carolina. I don't know all about that, but that's been reported to The Athletic. Apparently, Bill Belichick's son don't like her. I don't know if you hear that today. So the son don't care for her. I think they need to have a sit down, maybe get her a different position, not have her front and center like that. If she's got an issue with that, go find another girlfriend, but it's got to be addressed. I wouldn't keep it as is. So what's your thoughts about that? It's pretty crazy. It's been a big buzz the last few days.
Yeah, and I feel like what you said, a little bit of what you said is correct. Like, it just seems like this is the first time in his career of football that he doesn't have control.
Right.
And that's not, I don't know if that could be a good thing or a bad thing. That was something that he was insufferable. It was like ridiculed and people talked about when he was on the Patriots, and that it's his way or the highway. It's the Patriot way, so it's like, right. But maybe that also is something that he's going to change about who he is.
But do you want this?
No. Let me finish. let me get to where I'm getting. Like, so maybe this is a way of him bending, not breaking. But, however, and this is something that I wouldn't do is not to say that it's a good thing or a bad thing. Like, for sure, he has his own image and brand that he's known for. He's been in football his whole life, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is true. I'm not sure what position she has, but his girlfriend as a manager or somebody like that's running things for him.
PR person.
PR, yeah. I'm not sure if that was a good move, because now I get it. You want her to be part of the transition you're going through and stuff, but I feel like if you're gonna do that, just keep it football. Like, keep everything that you do football. Don't make it personal, and you set the tone. The moment she spoke out and said that is what opened the window and the door for everybody saying, "Oh, this is not what we know of, Bill Belichick."
Right.
So for me, what he's done, what he has done is going to have a ripple effect and consequences. However, if it's something that he's choosing to do to be more open in a relationship with that woman that he didn't have with his former partner, I think, okay, fine, but you have to understand that you're giving her a position at the young age of 24 that most people in marketing, PR, and communications at 24 don't have those kind of they don't represent.
Kind of helps that she's she's seeing the boss to clean it up.
Right. But they don't. Most people, not all, because there's some people that are, in their mid-20s and do that, but are not representing or have representation of a guy who's been in football for more than 50 years. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like he should have built a PR team, and she could have been on that team. But if she's being the face of that team with little experience or not as much experience as needed, that can cause a ripple effect, and it's showing up on camera, right? It's showing up now with this situation with CBS. So you want to avoid those things, and I just hope for the best for him and his family, and then just to get things.
Do you
keep
think
your personal
him
life out of it.
last?
Yeah, keep your personal life out of it, and just do football, Bill. Just do football, So that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I forgot to ask you earlier. What are your thoughts about the the huge fine? I think it was like $100,000 on the coordinator there for the Falcons. His son prank calling players, include Schroeder Sanders, on draft night, getting the number off his laptop and calling those NFL issued phones.
Yeah, I spoke to a lot of people about that. People that I know that know about sports, and then I spoke to my wife about it, and she was like that. She brought one of the best points, because other people I talked about was like, wow, it's funny, it's Shedeur, what was he expecting? And then when I talked to my wife about it, she had a very good perception about things. She was like, that's a form of bullying. And
the prank call thing?
Yeah.
It is, man. He's 21. He had no business.
Right. That's another thing, is that not only is that it's it's an irresponsible move on the Falcons and the Falcons team, that anybody outside of that unit can have access. So the fine, I think, this kid, he's gonna have to learn his lesson. I would, if I was his father, if I was the Falcons, I'd fire him. You got to set precedent. I would fire the father. You can still find the kid, but you cannot. You have to understand one thing, Robert. It's not just a place of business. It's a safe haven for some players.
Yeah.
To be in the locker room, to be in the facility and feel safe, because they're not.
You don't think that $100,000 fine was enough?
He's 21 years old, and he did one of the biggest mistakes. And the son, he's not working for the Falcons, is he?
No,
but his father is. You
would fire his dad for that?
Definitely. You got to set precedent in that. You got to tell all the other players for the next 10 years.
That would I'd give it. Now, if it happened again, I would.
No, because you can't have, you will not get players to come and play for you if they don't feel like there's a security measure, a safe haven in that place.
Yeah.
Right. You have to look at it. You can't look at it as a fan. You can't look at it as a kid's parent. You got to look at it from the player's perspective and as a place of business.
Yeah.
Because what happens in the Falcons facility, what happens with the owner, what happens with that team stays with those players. Right. And there's a reason why those players choose to leave these places.
So right? he made the apology.
Yeah, but
the big fine, $100,000. He's making $800,000. I'm sure he grounded the kid. He cut him off money wise.
Yeah, but he's 21. The thing is that the kid is like we've all been young men and done.
And the kid got publicly embarrassed.
I don't think.
What are you going to have him arrested for a prank call?
No, I didn't say that.
Even Shedeur said, you know what, he made a mistake. Shedeur actually took the high road.
Right,
and the other player, I think Abdul Carter got pranked too.
Yeah,
Tyler Warren.
Those kind of things, to be honest with you, those kind of things, you don't see it. You're not affected by it, but these teams are affected by it. There's a reason why people don't want to play for the Raiders.
Oh, it's embarrassing.
There's a reason people don't want to play for the Jets. There's a reason, right? So ownership has to do everything they can to try to make their place a place that welcomes other players and at a professional level. And these things that happen, that get out of hand, that get out into the media, will keep other players from coming to play for you. You have to have a high standard, and the only way to have a high standard is to nip it at the butt at the moment it comes in. The moment that happened, and I found out that it was my personnel as an owner, I would have been like, him and his kid out of here. The NFL can fine him and do whatever, but I cannot not trust somebody in my workplace and we're dealing with millions of dollars in players' contracts, millions and millions of dollars. We're not talking about, oh, he's going to play for $50 an hour. No, we're talking about this guy's getting paid thousands of dollars per game, right?
Yeah.
So that it has an
Okay.
effect.
I mean, I disagree. I think that would be too harsh, but I'm
Well,
a
life is hard.
hardcore guy.
Robert, life is hard. He's 21 years old. If he don't learn that now,
No, I know. If the kid worked for the organization, he'd been fired.
right? Of
But
course.
the dad, he got into his dad's stuff. The dad should have had it secure. But that being said, it's not like that an actual crime was committed.
Yeah,
It's
but
just an insult to the organization,
that it just takes a small little nugget, man.
Yeah.
Just small little seed. That's all it takes. Man.
It was embarrassment because the NFL, they gave them phones so that wouldn't happen. And then it happens anyway. So, little brat, you want to choke him. I mean, 21 years old. Stephen A. Smith was like, yeah, he needs to whoop his butt. And I'm thinking, yeah, if he was young enough, now would be considered assault.
Yeah, so now here's the thing. Yeah, here's the thing. Like whether he was
disown the kid now.
yeah, whether he was 12, whether he was 12 or 25.
I wouldn't bring him in the facility no more.
Well, they're
No, he
firing him.
probably never was in the facility,
Right,
but
but
even if he
again,
was,
You like I'm talking about for my
because he
business.
streamed it, and I didn't like the fact he streamed it.
Yeah,
too.
he recorded it.
Yeah, so
Come
he
on.
wanted to go viral. That really irritated.
And to be honest with
He
you,
wouldn't be back on the facility. The son wouldn't.
yeah, I'm not sure if it was, I'm not sure when he did the apology. I'm not sure if it was something that he meant to do or something that was forced on him. Whatever the deal is, I'm glad that it happened. I'm glad that he reached out to Shador, and
Yeah. The father and the son did put out a statement.
yeah, like let that all kind of work its way out. But again, you are dealing with somebody's emotions, somebody's feelings, somebody who has an opportunity to move on and do better things.
They worked there several years for that.
Right. And so like, you're not, and you're being, and it's mean, and it's uncalled for. And when you're looking for a team to play with, and this is a former team of his father's. So how do you think his father feels?
Yeah,
about
that's true.
Right.
I'm sure that's all water under the bridge. Do you have anything else you need to plug there, Chief?
Yeah, right. I'm just trying to wrap up some things here on my personal life to try to get back to the baseball stuff. The Yankees and the Mets are doing all right now, and it's just a busy time in the playoffs, man. There's a lot of sports going on right now, and it's a great time to be involved. If you guys have opinions, you guys want to talk about it, come on the show. Robert's willing to listen. We'll go back and forth, and we can have fun and just come in and sign up and subscribe and have fun with us, man. This is a platform for everybody, not just me to gripe about stuff or Robert to tell us the truth. So
keep it
everybody
100.
has fun, So
yeah. Well, I'll definitely be bringing some more people on the program. Like Julian Nerdick. He's a player here in Nashville. He's El Harding, 3-star player from 24/7. So maybe I'll bring him back on at some point, get a chance to meet his coaching staff, and bring maybe some of his teammates on. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe we can get a professional football player or a former and ask them about how they would have felt if on draft day they got a prank call.
Jim Jeffcoat, maybe.
Yeah, he's good about that. He'll tell you how it
bring
is.
his neck there, man.
Yeah, I tell you what, and
I was like, Jim, was you the guy that broke up the fights in training camp? No, I was usually the one who started them.
Yeah, he's good. He's a great dude. If you ever guys get a chance to catch him, man, he's
I'm gonna try to get him on here sooner than later, and we won't just talk about the Cowboys. He's
coached college ball.
I think he's coached college and pro.
Ball.
I know he coached the defensive line for the Cowboys. So
yeah,
I think he did coach college too. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of
I think he worked with Eric Bieniemy at Colorado. I want to say. So
I believe it was a Colorado school. I'm not sure if it was at Colorado State, but I know I can't remember too well. But he did coach somewhere in Colorado.
Jim's been around. I need to bring him back on. He would be one I can definitely think of. The Mad New Yorker, everybody. Have a round of applause. And as a side note, Carlos, you're right. I looked at halftime, and Detroit's back up at halftime.
That's why
like you said, never say never with these teams, man.
No, man, not this year.
All right. Thanks, buddy. Have a good night, everybody.